Hello everyone, this is Saji. We're gonna look into congruence today. Today we will learn about congruences. So we can identify if shapes are congruent to each other or not. We will know we have it when we need to prove different triangles are congruent. Congruence. What is congruence? Means congruence is a fancy word to say something exactly the same. The shape and size are the same, then it's congruent. So it's basically congruent figures have all segments, the line or angles or line segment and the sides are equal to each other. Pretty simple way I can say it, they look exactly the same. Or you can say they exactly same or equal. This is the congruent sign or symbol for congruent. It's basically equal on top little wavy mark on the top of it. Let's see these two these two quadrilateral. Are they congruent? Take some time and think about it, if they are congruent or not. Did you guys find out? Let's see, how does it work? You remember, you already learned about rigid motions. So if you have two quadrilateral, and then you look into those and see what happened. So basically you have these two. I just have to prove by moving this, they look exactly same. The best way, you move one of those quadrilateral and put on top of it. And if it fit on top of it, exactly the same, then those are congruent. So I'm just gonna move down and move to the right. If I need to tilt a little bit, I tilt it and flip it over, which is reflection. And it fit on top of it exactly the same. Therefore, these two are congruent. So we basically, I will do it again so then you will know it. I had these two. The first thing I moved down and then align with one line over here, then I flipped it. And it fit exactly on top of it. So that's mean these two quadrilaterals are congruent. All right. Let's say if you could do the other one. Stop share this one. Share this again. So we know, we found out these two are congruent, and then see if this is the next one, it's congruent. So you still have another quadrilateral, two of them. And you can see all the angles are congruent. Like this angle congruent to this angle congruent to that, 135, 135, 135, 135. So basically, the angles are congruent to each other. On the first figure, you looked at it, the angles are congruent. The side, one of those sides, those two sides are congruent, and these two sides are congruent. Because of these angles, if you look at it, 115 plus 65, it's 180. So therefore, these two lines are parallel. If you add these two, 115 plus 65, those also 180, which is adjacent angles are add up to 180, then those two sides, interior continuous angles are congruent. So therefore, angles add up to 180 degrees. Therefore, these two these two lines are congruent. Therefore, you can call these two a parallelogram. Okay. And then when you put on top of it, it's fit each other. So that means the angles are congruent, or angles are exactly the same, the corresponding angles. And the sides are exactly same too. That's why it's fit on the top of it. That's why these two figures are congruent. In here, if you look at it, the angles are congruent. If you look at it, these also parallelogram, because when you add these two interior angles, that adds up to 180 degrees. So the opposite sides are parallel. In here, the same thing. But are they congruent? So let's see. There you go. You have these two. All right, I am trying to align where I can fit. These two are 45 degrees, so I just try to align. And then I just flip it, which is reflected. So I had it over here, and then I flipped it. It's not congruent, even though one side align almost exactly same, but on the top you can see the bottom piece is bigger than the top piece, even though the angles are congruent, or angles are exactly same. All right. So what can you conclude with that? So now you can conclude, even if the angles, the corresponding angles are congruent, still the parallelogram not congruent because the sides are different. All right. So just be sure when you make it, when you see all the angles are congruent to corresponding to the other figure, still the figure doesn't need to be congruent to each other. All right. Now, look at this piece. What do you think? Are they congruent? In here, they are saying, like on the previous figure, see, they put one line for this line. That's mean we are matching up. In here, we have two lines. That's mean this line is different size than this one. If you see another line on here, that's mean they draw the same exact length of that line segment. Okay. In here, if you look at it, you have corresponding angles are congruent or exactly the same thing. 96, 96 over here, 99, 99, 47, 47, and 118, 118. Also, you can see 3 bar over here, and there's another 3 bar. This means these two sides are congruent or exactly the same thing. And this side is exactly the same thing. And this side is equal to this side. And this side is equal to this side. Let's see, are these two figures are congruent? You want to try and let me know, or try to look at it and visualize it. If you move it, does it going to fit on top of it? Let's see. So we have to align this piece onto here. So can I rotate this one? I just rotate it like in our rigid motion. And then I translate, I move on the right side. Does it gonna fit exactly the same? See? It fit right on top of it, exactly the same, without any difference. So that's mean these two are congruent. Why? The corresponding parts are congruent. Not only the angles that corresponding, but also the sides has to be congruent. So if you turn around, and then you will have exactly the same piece. All right. So what can you come up with it? What can you say about congruence? If the angles just to be the corresponding angle to be congruent to each other, do you think those two figures going to be congruent? Or you need the sides too? So I want you to come up with your idea or your definition and let me know in my checkpoint. What do you mean by congruent? We have another two triangles over here. Do you think they are congruent? In here, if you look at it, the angle over here, this means it's a 1 bar or one curvy bar and one curvy bar. This means they are these two angles are congruent each other. If two angles are congruent in one triangle, which is called isosceles triangle, okay? If two angles are congruent, then the opposite side of those two angles are, two sides are congruent too. See, this side is 36 inch and this side is 36 inch. Now we have those two triangles. And see if they are congruent. And we have same thing. And here, there's extra thing over here. These two, look at this. This is 1 bar, this is 1 bar. That's mean these two angles are congruent. So therefore, that one and this one, These two angles are congruent. What can you say about the third angle if two angles congruent in a triangle? The third angle also have to be congruent because the sum of interior angle of triangle is equal to 180 degrees. So the third angle also congruent. We know we are matching up with these two sides in here, these two sides. In here, they are giving 16 inch, 16 inch. So that should be, when you take that and put on top of the other triangle, it should be fit exactly on top of it. Let's see, it does it. See, these are the two angles. We don't have the measurement. I can say it over here, 16, 36, 36, and 16, 36, 36 and 16. All right. Now, what can I do? I can rotate this and move on top of it and see what happens if it's fit exactly on top of it. If you look at it, it's fit exactly on top of it. Even though if it's moving, see, that means these two are congruent. So what can you say about a figure, about two figures if they are congruent? What they need to have, or what is the speciality, or what they have to be like, congruent in those figures? And try this one and see, you can draw the same thing because we have the angles are congruent. This is 4 bar, this is 4 bar. These two are congruent, these two angles, and 3 bar and 3 bar. So that's mean these two angles are congruent. Here is 2 bar and here is 2 bar. Those two are congruent, and the last one in here, these two are congruent. But they did not give anything, any information about the sides are congruent. So I want you to figure out these two figures are congruent. Try it and let me know next time if you have any questions, or stop by at my office hour. In here, there's a congruent statement. See, this means triangle ABC. You don't have the figure, but just think or draw it. Congruent sign, congruent to triangle DEF. What angle is equal to B? All right. And what angle is equal to, what segment is equal to the line segment AC? What angle is equal to FED? That's mean FED. You can say either way. So let's see. We're just going to look into it. ABC. I'm just writing down and I will explain to you in a second. Triangle DEF. You want to know angle B, and AC is congruent to what? And angle FDE equal. Okay. So let's say so you have two triangles. They're asking what is equal to. What angle equal to angle B? That was the first question. If the angle in the middle, when you look at it, if they write down the same way, so you can point it out, the B is in the middle, so E is in the middle, so these two triangles are congruent, so I'm just going to put E. Angle E is congruent to B, angle B. So the next question, what is equal to line segment AC congruent to, or equal, or I just put equal. What is it? AC, AC, I'm just going to say line DF. See, I just looking, I mean, like, you know, putting the pattern, you're just going to try to do the pattern. Also, you try to draw a triangle and then you come up with it. And the angle FED, so what is in the middle? E. So that's mean when they write an angle with 3 letters, FDE, FDE, so that's mean the middle part is the angle over here. All right. The middle letter hold the angle. Then you're going to do the same thing, CAB. We're just going to go FDE and then you're going to go CAB. So I'm just going to say angle CAB. That is the angle going to be equal or congruent. Let's see if we draw a triangle, two triangle, which is congruent. Just I'm just going to erase it and I'm going to draw a big triangle. So then you will see it. There are two triangles which are congruent. A B and C. D, E, F. All right. So this is the angle B. So what is angle B is equal to angle E, like we said. So you can see angle B is congruent to angle E. They ask, what is the line segment congruent to or equal to line AC? We just put DF, that's what you have. The third one, they had angle FDE is congruent to FDE, which is this angle. So you're going to put F, no, and here CAB. CAB. That's the angle. So these are the way that they figure out. All right. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. So now you know how to figure out and align with the angle and try to answer those questions like corresponding angle for the angle. Like, angle B is congruent to angle E, like we answered before. Complete the congruent statement. So how do we complete? So you have triangle. Before they said triangle ABC congruent to DEF, so they told you that they are congruent. Now you are finding the corresponding parts for each they ask, which is equal to on the other triangle. In here, when you write this, how are you going to write? Congruent statement. So triangle NLM. All right. Triangle NLM NLM 25 millimeter and 18 millimeter, which is on the bottom also 18 millimeter. And so you have two triangle, which is triangle NLM, and the other one we have to write down in order to match with the other triangles order because both of them are congruent. So then we can figure out easily the corresponding parts. Let's see how can we do it. So we have two triangle NLM, which is exactly looks same. So we just going to move this and put on top of it. And then we will see which one aligning, which vertex in here M and in here T. Are they going to align, or U and L and S? So this in here, it's pretty easy because these two sides are 18 millimeters. And this one is 25 millimeters, and this one 25 millimeters. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to rotate this one and bring on the top of it and put it on the top. When I put it, so I'm just going to do, this is blue, and this line is, all lines are blue. So when I put on the top, in here, 90-degree angle, so it has to fit with N. So in here, if it's, this one is N, this one going to be S if you put on the top. And then I can put the U over here because this is 18 millimeter, 18 millimeter. So can I say this is U? And then this is 18 millimeter, so I can put it over here. So this one is equal to T. So N is equal to S, M is equal to U, and L is equal to T. So when we write it, what we can do, start with the right triangle. So instead of L, I am just going to put S. I can say this one is S. In here, L. So what is this equal to? T and then U. So triangle NLM is congruent to triangle STU. That's how you write it. So what did I do? We basically take the corresponding parts and fit on it. So I know S is right angle and N is a right angle. So I fit N and S, and then I put the U over here. I bring the U because 18 millimeter, 18 millimeter. You can do the other way too. It's going to be working fine. If you put the T on the top, because that also 18 millimeter. But for the sake of it, I just want to come with STU like in order. So we just put S in here and the T over here to match up and the U on the top. And then I write the same order as this one. NLM, NLM, and here STU, STU. Even if you write SUT, it's fine, but I prefer STU, all right? There are a few other triangle, and look at it. Write the congruent statement. How can we write that? If you look at it, you have a right angle over here, you have a right angle. You have 45, 45, 45, 45, 18, 18, in here 18, 18. Those two sides are matching up with this, and those two sides making the angle, right angle. So we can take and put on the top of it, it's going to fit exactly the same thing. All right. So what happened? You just write triangle. So you're going to put triangle symbol. Can we start from here? PQR. So we're just going to write PQR. Congruent sign is congruent to triangle. So we put the triangle sign. So if we match up, U is going to go to the P place, and V is going to be equal to Q in that place, and W going to go on the top. You can do W over here too, it's fine, but I prefer this way. So now you're going to write UVW, triangle UVW. So triangle PQR is congruent to triangle UVW. That's how you're going to write it. In here, there's another question. Triangle, right angle over here, 31 degree and 59 degrees. Triangle IHG, IHG is congruent to MNO. So angle G is 31, so these two are congruent, so the O is going to be 31 because they are congruent, they already gave that. And this is 97 yards, so OM also going to be 97 yard. And what is NO? So if you look at it, HG, we have to find HG to find NO. HG is 83, so that NO, it's also going to be 83 because those two are congruent, they already state that. Corresponding parts. There are two triangles, 65, 80, and 35. So this is 35, 50, and 46 over here. In here, we have 29, 50, and 50, which is making the 65 degree. If it's 35, what is the other angle? Does it have to be the same as this? No. When you total it, because they don't give any other information, when you total it, it has to be 180 degrees. So if you take 135 out, it's going to be 145 left. You can say one is 100, the other one is 45, or one is 55, the other one is 90. Or you can say one is 65, the other one is 80. Or you can say one is 70 and the other one is 75. So we don't know it, what are these two angles are. But if it's congruent triangles, the angle has to be congruent too. The corresponding parts has to be congruent. So what is the measurement of MU? We don't know. Based on the information, we cannot find this out. So sometimes you will think about congruence only, then you might match it up. But if they don't give you enough information, please don't make a decision. All right. I will stop by here. And then if you have any questions, please contact me and we will go over it. Come to office hours or text me. We will go over it and then we can be able to figure out to help you. All right. Thank you.